What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the ruthlessly relaxed Dr. Disaster. And if you've been paying attention to the video game conversations for the past few months at all, you'd know that supposedly Assassin's Creed Shadows was the most popular thing that ever existed.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Now, if you listen to the game journalists out there, they will tell you that Shadows made Ubisoft $28 trillion, and yes, I know that number is higher than the entire gross domestic product of the United States of America, but that just goes to show how fabulously wealthy this game has made the people at Ubisoft. And also, the media will tell you that Assassin's Creed Shadows had 17 billion players, and yes, I'm aware that's more people than exist on this planet, but that's kind of the point. It was so popular that the freaking aliens played it. However, don't you dare ask how many people actually bought the game, because that is tantamount to fascism or something. No, you're supposed to just sit back and listen to the media repeat Ubisoft's daily affirmation statement for them.
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
But all kidding aside, here's the funny thing about all the claims that have been made about how many people supposedly played Assassin's Creed Shadows. It doesn't seem to have helped Ubisoft out very much. For full context, Monster Hunter Wilds sold really well, and we know that because Capcom proudly announced they moved 10 million units in the game's first month of release, and as a result of that game's popularity, they announced that the company saw an all-time record-breaking profit for the previous fiscal year. I can about imagine what Ubisoft's reaction is to seeing that announcement.
Son of a bitch.
Meanwhile, Ubisoft themselves just had their investor call for the final quarter of the previous fiscal year, and in it, they failed once again to divulge how many actual copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows that they sold. In point of fact, Assassin's Creed Shadows had 11 days of release that it counted toward that previous fiscal year, and as we all know, a game's sales in its first week or so are always the bulk of its sales. So, as you can see from this headline here, Shadows did not help Ubisoft out. It did not become their savior. It would seem that gamers and the gaming market have a message for the company.
If everything you're doing is bad, I want you to know this.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet, and also, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. The first part of the novel that I've written, a dark fantasy story called The Darkest Heritage, is now available in audiobook format for members only. The book itself will be ready to purchase on Amazon in the near future, but in the meantime, if you want to support alternatives to crap like Assassin's Creed Shadows, where they embraced progressive political messaging, if you want to support alternatives, then consider becoming a member of the channel for as little as $5 a month. In any case, let's talk about what we learned about Ubisoft. This article here from Yahoo Finance talks about what was announced. It says here, a bumper release for the latest Assassin's Creed installment did not save French video games giant Ubisoft from falling back into the red in its 2024/2025 financial year, the company said on Wednesday. I love how these outlets shamelessly refer to a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows as a bumper release, despite the fact that there has seriously been zero data released to the public concerning their actual sales numbers. We just have to take it on faith that they're doing really well. Meanwhile, Capcom has no problem telling us they sold 10 million units of Monster Hunter in its first month. Warhorse told us that they sold 2 million copies of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Sandfall announced that they sold a couple million copies in just a few weeks of Clair Obscur Expedition 33, but Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ubisoft will only talk about the number of players, bragging that they hit 3 million players in a week or so, which is of course not sales. That is some weak-ass shit. And until someone comes out with actual sales data, I am calling them chicken shits who are embarrassed by their performance. But reading on, the article said the company had won through to profitability in 2023 and 2024 after a near €500 million loss in the previous period. But a string of disappointing releases undermined this year's performance with a net loss of €159 million on revenues of $1.9 billion, down 17.5% year on year. So think about this. I've talked about this a lot on this channel, but it bears repeating. As the article said, the fiscal year of 23/24 was the first time Ubisoft operated on a profit for this entire decade thus far. In fact, during the 2020s, prior to the information that we got from this investor call, the company has operated at a loss of somewhere around €500 million, and they were really banking on a strong 2024/2025 to turn things around. They had Star Wars Outlaws that came out in this year. They released X-Defiant, which was supposed to be their version of Call of Duty. Assassin's Creed Shadows was released, and near the tail end of the previous year, they had Skull and Bones, which they figured they were going to sell a lot of DLC for throughout last year. All of the losses at the beginning of the decade were development costs leading up to what was supposed to be a huge year for the company last year, but all of those games crashed and burned. Even Assassin's Creed Shadows, the flagship of the company, couldn't do enough to save them. Over the years, the estimates are that the cost of that game, with marketing included, is somewhere in the ballpark of $300 to $400 million. This means they would need something around 7 million units sold at full price of Assassin's Creed Shadows just to break even, and it didn't happen, not even close. And so this year that was supposed to be so huge for Ubisoft was just another in a long line of years where they operated at a loss. But let me just summarize the crucial financial information from this article that we have been reading, because as much as they are admittedly giving us some real info, which is surprising for a mainstream media outlet, but still, they are dancing around the bottom line. But here it is, summarized by this post on X from friend of the channel, Smash JT. He wrote here, responding to a Ubisoft ass kisser, saying, reads like Assassin's Creed was a hit. In reality, Ubisoft reported a $92.4 million operating loss. Revenue dropped 20%. They missed all estimates. They are deep in debt. Game journalists, reports, and headlines keep lying, this time by omission. Oh, and there's still no reference to sales anywhere either. And I'd also like to add that they fired over 1,000 employees. Ubisoft fired over 1,000 people during this last fiscal year. Any way you slice it, the company is not performing well. So, if Assassin's Creed Shadows did indeed sell as well as the journalist class would have us believe, then what gives? And here's the thing, it's clear that they are full of shit clear up to their eyebrows. And what's worse is that there isn't much of anything on the horizon for this company. There's no game to be excited about. They were banking on Shadows completely. And they've likely only sold something in the ballpark of 3 million units of Assassin's Creed Shadows at this stage, which may sound like a lot, but considering that this is one of the biggest franchises in the world, and that the feudal Japan setting was something the fans have asked for since they started, well, they should have much higher numbers. For a game like Clair Obscur, whose budget was a fraction of Shadows as they introduced players to a brand new IP, for them, selling a couple million copies in a few weeks is really strong. But for Shadows to be in that ballpark, it's just embarrassing. Ubisoft is avoiding admitting this at all costs, but the financial information they're forced to divulge to investors tells us at least a part of the story. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your mockery of Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.